As hard as it may be to believe, these two guys are identical twins. No, they don't have the same DNA, but there is one place where their footprint is nearly identical. On the stat sheet. And in this video, you will see that sometimes players whose styles and mannerisms were completely different are more shockingly alike than you would ever think. Baseball's statistical twins are coming up right after this. Before we get started, here's the method for spotting statistical twins. We're going to be using something called the similarity score, which was invented in the 1980s by the godfather of analytics, Bill James. To find the similarity score between two players, you start at 1000 and begin subtracting 1 point for certain differences in their stat lines. A point for a difference of 20 games played, 75 at-bats, 10 runs scored, 15 hits, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, 25 walks, and so on. You get it. Same for pitchers, but with pitching stats and stuff.
Duh.
Also, stick around, there'll be a guest appearance as well. Let's start with one set of twins that's probably going to surprise anyone born after the year 2000. In one corner, we have one of the most trashed, mocked, and ridiculed players of the internet age, and it's not because he's Canadian. In the other corner, we have one of the key members of the team that brought a title to Wrigleyville for the first time in 107 years. Their reputations are worlds apart, but their numbers are within, well, just a few tiny digits. Anthony Rizzo and Jason Bay, though the former is a hero and the latter is a punchline, have a ton in common. Despite Bay accruing 11 years worth of major league appearances to just 10 so far for Rizzo, they are within 13 games played and within fewer than 200 plate appearances of each other. Rizzo has notched just 49 more hits than Bay, but Bay has Rizzo bested by a single RBI. Rizzo has the edge in batting average by just 5 points, and Bay's been granted 27 more free rides to first base. OPS, Rizzo by 16 points. Slugging, Rizzo by 4 points. Stolen bases, Jason Bay, the speed demon he was, has 35 more stolen bases. Okay, that really doesn't factor into the score, but still, catch up, Rizzo. Here's one more that's applicable. Rizzo has just 7 more home runs. If this comparison is shocking to you, you might be a victim of a debilitating syndrome called recency bias. Bay's career took a steep decline in the early 2010s, right as Rizzo started to emerge as an elite prospect. Bay's batting average dipped to 165 with the Mets in 2012, prompting a shitstorm of impact font memes from kids too young to remember his Rookie of the Year in 2004, albeit an old rookie season at age 25. Bay's peak season at the plate, 2005 with the Pirates, is arguably slightly better than Rizzo's 2015 or 2016, both years where he finished 4th in MVP voting. The lesson: do not fall victim to recency bias or even worse, memes. This next one, though, has two guys who are the opposite in body shape, but not in stats. Tim Lincecum, 2-time Cy Young winner, 3-time World Series champ, 4-time All-Star, a 5'11", 170-pound specimen straight out of Dazed and Confused. So who's his statistical twin? Teammate Matt Cain, Bob Gibson, Justin Verlander, Cy Young himself? Nope, it's 0-time Cy Young Award winner and 0-time All-Star Alex Fernandez. Wait, what? Fernandez was never the star that Lincecum was, though he was a major reason the upstart Marlins won the World Series in 1997. But he was a dependable, above-average starter in the 90s that put up 1,760 innings and surrendered 8.7 hits per 9 and allowed exactly 1 homer every 9 frames. Lincecum, on the other hand, gave up 8.1 hits and 8.1 homers per 9 innings. Lincecum had a winning percentage of .553 to Fernandez's .552, and they had the exact same career ERA, 3.74. Those aren't the most illuminating stats for a pitcher given the many external factors around them, but they both played for teams that mostly won during their careers, though you'd figure Fernandez might have had a tougher job in the midst of the steroid era. Then why all the accolades and the fame for Lincecum while Fernandez is an obscure figure to most baseball fans? Well, Fernandez was steady. His numbers stayed largely consistent throughout his career, while Lincecum had a dominant run from 2008 to 2011 before falling off a statistical cliff in 2012. Because he was so slight, Lincecum had to generate most most of his velocity from the hips, not his arms, which led to a lot of injury problems that slowed him down and eventually ended his career. The reason he was so memorable was his unassuming appearance, one that kept him outside of Pac-Bell one day because security didn't believe he was a Major League Baseball player. And his injuries were the reason his star burned out so quickly. Next, we'll find out how much more credit a player should have gotten for who he was. Willie Mays played 22 seasons in the majors. At age 32, he was exactly at the halfway mark of his career. Vladimir Guerrero played just 16 years, retiring at age 36. But if you hit the pause button at age 32, Mays and Guerrero are nearly the same guy. Mays had Vlad beat in home runs, 406 to 365, but you can attribute that to about 500 more plate appearances for Mays, separated by just 2 RBIs, 10 points in batting average, 2 points in on-base percentage, and just 6 points in OPS. When you get past the volume of plate appearances, you'll find that they were almost just as likely to go deep. Guerrero had a home run percentage of 5.4. Mays hit a home run 5.5% of the time. The same goes for extra base hits. Vlad was good for 2 or more bags 11.4% of the time. Mays, 11.5% extra base hits. It's uncanny. Willie Mays is a legend, perhaps more than a legend. He's got his own mythology, his own Willie Mays Day in San Francisco, and a signature play he's remembered for. Vlad had his own moment in the postseason, a grand slam in the ALDS in 2004, but rest assured, you won't hear that play mentioned among the greatest moments of the century. Both players are Hall of Famers, but despite nearly identical first acts, Mays separated himself statistically with sheer volume in the second half of his career. It's also worth noting that Vlad never separated himself from a bad pitch he thought he could hit. And now I'm going to turn it over to special guest Baseball Doesn't Exist, who actually exists. Subscribe to him from the link below.
You're probably familiar with the name Curt Schilling. Yes, believe it or not, the right-wing political commentator for Blaze TV was once a major league pitcher, and a pretty good one at that. One who, if it wasn't for his big mouth, would probably be in the Hall of Fame. On the other side of the coin is a guy nobody is really talking about for the Hall of Fame, and when it comes to his political beliefs, nobody really talks about that either. And to be honest, nobody really talks about this guy at all, because he keeps his mouth shut. When it comes to notoriety, Schilling and Brown are pretty much opposites, both for baseball reasons and non-baseball reasons. But if you look at the numbers, you won't be able to tell a difference. For starters, they both pitched nearly the same amount of innings. Schilling tossed just 4.9 more frames than Brown over their entire careers, both of which started in the 80s and ended in the mid-2000s. Their win percentage is separated by just 3 points. Brown allowed just 0.2 more hits per 9 innings, and they had a difference of just 1 in career walks allowed. Brown even won a World Series ring, although Schilling won 3. But here's the major difference. One of these guys gave up 139 fewer home runs, and it wasn't the guy with the blood-stained sock.
And now for our last shocking statistical twins. One of these players is a Hall of Famer, a 5-time Silver Slugger, a 4-time Gold Glove winner, and a 7-time All-Star. The other is Derek Jeter. Craig Biggio is a player respected by anyone who was interested in separating the greatness of a player from the greatness of the team around him, or anyone who wasn't distracted by the pinstripes on the uniform as opposed to the goofy-looking 80s fever dream shoulder stripes rocked by the outdated Astros. It shouldn't come as a major surprise that Derek Jeter's statistical twin is also a Hall of Famer, but in terms of actual fame, they couldn't have been further apart. One was a mega celebrity in the biggest market in the United States, a World Series hero 5 times over who dated Mariah Carey, Tyra Banks, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel, and Scarlett Johansson. Craig Biggio has been married to the same woman since 1990. Derek Jeter made people sign NDAs and leave their cell phones at the door when they came to his house. Craig Biggio could walk down the street in New York City and maybe not get recognized. But if you remove the World Series wins, you might not be able to distinguish their career stats. They finished their playing days separated by just 100 plate appearances, 31 home runs, 80 walks, 7 points in OBP, 7 points in slugging, and 136 RBI. And not for nothing, they both played for the same team their whole career, 20 years apiece. There's one stat where Biggio clearly has Jeter outclassed. He was hit by 267 pitches. Jeter got plunked just 170 times. Of course, there's a reason Jeter was the superstar in the 90s and 2000s, while Biggio was just another one of the killer bees in Houston. It's the luck of being drafted into the New York market, being inserted into a World Series ready team in 1996, a part of the most iconic brand in baseball. Biggio's numbers all dropped in October, while Jeter's remained consistent or improved. Though we have to keep in mind Jeter had the luxury of about 550 more postseason plate appearances. Just another difference between life in Houston and life in the Big Apple. Craig Biggio will never be remembered like Derek Jeter, not even close, and it's further proof that sometimes stardom is the result of circumstance, not skill. Because when you take off all the pinstripes, the logos, and the girls on their arms, there's no telling apart these twins. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more interesting videos on sports, and also check out Baseball Doesn't Exist. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.